spanking new podcast show called The Window to My Soul. The Window to My Soul, it's basically a show about self-development, self-improvement. The intention of this show is to take the audience through self-mastery. As usual, let's get right into it. Let's get it! Woo! On today's episode, we're talking about self-awareness. It's very important to know yourself as an individual, Self-awareness is a very important topic, for one to firstly understand who they are, understand the beliefs, things that they believe in, and how they attribute in them being a human, and also understanding your character. Because if you're not aware of being self-aware, firstly of your environment, of your beliefs, of what drives you or what motivates you, what is the motive of what you do, you are not able to grow as an individual. A typical example would be bringing it to myself. I realized that in my environment that I was in, there was never in my family someone who was a proper entrepreneur. I realized that, the entrepreneurship journey, I got that from my mom, who was a helper. She was the first investor in my business. So I was aware that, because of my environment, that we were poor, extremely poor. We never owned any house. We were just staying with relatives, and staying at the backyard of where my mom was working. I think it's the foundation for one self-beliefs, for one self-character, for one individual, what makes them tick. If you are not aware of your internal environment where you are and your external environment, how they attribute in being you as a character, how they attribute in the being or in the formation of what makes you. I'm not talking about consciousness, because those are two different things. It's very important as an individual to be aware of what you believe in, the environment that you hang around with, your surrounding. Typical example will be me, growing up because of the legal that we had, and being poor, grew up in a family that we're poor. We're okay. I can't say poor. We're okay, but we're poor. We didn't have all the nice things, The self-awareness helped me, to shape where I'm going as an individual in terms of the decisions that I was taking as an entrepreneur. The decisions to move from being in the accounting field to say I'm going to start afresh and go to media because I see a gap of starting a business there, My beliefs as a Christian, they shape me who I am even today as an entrepreneur in terms of how I treat people. I think self-awareness is important for an individual to always assess their environment, because that helps that person to become better, whether in your career, whether at your school studies, whether in your relationship. And as well, it helps you to get rid of certain debt in your life, whether it's bad friends or bad toxic relationships, because you are aware, One could bring it as well in terms of what's currently happening in terms of maybe, women abuse, that attributes or that is contributed as well by self-awareness, not being aware of your self-awareness of your environment, and also, taking out certain things, how you grow up and realizing that we are living in a different era, that, you need to get rid of certain things. For example, in the creative agency that I'm involved in, because I know that I'm Zulu, I'm able to tap in my certain characters or certain things that bring the best out of me, because I'm able to, come out with an idea that can speak to that market, because of my heritage or because of my environment. But as well, you find that, balancing the two is also very important, I remember when I was a kid, my first label that I ever got was from this white kid called Jonathan. Shout out to Jonathan. We grew up together, It was a Nike white T-shirt that Jonathan gave me because my mom was a helper for Jonathan's family, and we were staying at the back room. It was a Nike, T-shirt. I started falling in. He gave me a Nike T-shirt and a Jordan. I started falling in love with Jordans and Nike. So that became sort of like my thing. That even at 30-year-old years, whenever I think of a top or I think of a sneaker, first thing that comes in is J's or my fit, that formed who I am. I mean, I go into boardrooms wearing Jordans, because it's the culture. It's part of my heritage. It gives me that thing, like if I don't have it, I feel like, on the day things are not going well. I gotta, if I have a big project and maybe, I'm trying to celebrate, it's gotta be Jay's. It's part of me, because of Jordan, because of Jonathan's influence in my life, and me growing up in their family. Somehow I adopted certain things, but I've learned as an individual that I have to balance the two, know who I am, and know, where I'm going, and really use that as a motivation to become great at what I'm doing. Typical example, in my culture, greeting is very important. It's so weird when one walks in and I don't greet you. That's not how I grew up. We grew up with, endlini kuyabulisa, kumele ubulise, you need to greet. Grew up in a situation where if shubile or things are bad, you go next door, you go ask for sugar or salt. Sometimes I find myself even where I'm staying, which is, in a different place, I find myself actually asking for situations. I had for 4 or 5 days I didn't have an electricity. I was using my neighbor's electricity. I just hoiked in the cable. I'm talking about in the Babs. I used the cable, and Umchita and I was like, sure, man. I was like, yeah, this takes me back to the hood, how we grew up, but it's in the Babs. So I feel like knowing yourself and your heritage and taking certain things that are good for you, what you believe in, and inculcating that in your life, it can actually help you to move forward. If I didn't reach out to my neighbor to ask for electricity, to pull with the cable, my kids wouldn't have celebrated their birthday. It was my kid's birthday party, and for a week we didn't have electricity until that day of their birthday. The electricity came the following day because there was a fault at my house. So all I'm trying to highlight in this podcast is very important to take certain things from your heritage, take certain things from, your environment that you can use as an individual to grow, because it's part of self-awareness, and those become your superpowers, like they become you. This podcast sometimes it's very personal, like bring it back to me. I'm short-tempered guy sometimes, but I've got patience. I'm down to earth. I click with every person. Sometimes I get to a stage where I don't tolerate. It's enough is enough. I've learned to use certain elements like respect, hlonipha, and being down to earth. Because when you're in business, you can't always have pride. You leave pride aside, because business it's a long game. It's a marathon. You can be naf and ach, but tomorrow you're down, and then you realize those people that you were shutting them out, or those people that you're shutting them out, they are on top, and you need them. So it's very important to humble yourself. I use those superpowers of who I am, how I was raised by my mom, without anything, because it taught me humbleness, and that humbleness has, opened doors beyond my imaginary as a human being, and I'm very grateful for that. Thank you so much for watching and listening to our spanking new podcast show called Window to My Soul. Kindly please comment on all of our social platforms. And when you're commenting, it's such an amazing motivation for myself and my team to keep on dishing out such stellar, marvelous content. When you're commenting, kindly please use the hashtag WTMS, hashtag WTMS. Your cooperation is highly appreciated. Your support means the world. Until we meet again, let's get it!